Okay. Yeah, I think I'm going to start it off. Hello. Welcome.
Hello. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, we said hello. That was the first step. And then it was supposed to evolve naturally and procedurally from there. We are Botnik, and we are here at the Roguelike convention in San Francisco. Hello, everyone. We're excited to be here with you. Roguelike games, as you probably know, and as we all know, involve procedural generation. And the show that we're going to present to you tonight also involves a kind of semi-guided procedural generation. And it comes from this game that you can play with your phone, which, raise your hand if you've ever just written sentences by taking suggestion after suggestion from your phone's predictive text. This is something you can do, and if you haven't done it, it sounds something like this when you choose from 3 suggestions at a time. The first 3 for me are I'm, I, and thanks. And if I choose one of those, then I get 3 more. I'm in transit, but I guess I want to be with you. Oh,
That's sweet. Yeah, that's really
that's kind of
heartwarming.
heartbreaking.
You're always in transit.
Yeah, this modern world, we're always in transit. We're never with the people who we really want to be
love.
with. We're never with you.
That's our show. Thank you.
Good night.
And so this idea of procedural generation using predictive text can be applied outside this very narrow context, which is the context of really common words, really common things that everyone who texts and emails says, plus some layer of what you commonly text and email. That's the standard predictive text approach. But Botnik's approach uses a tool that we call the Botnik Predictive Writer.
Great.
And yes, go ahead.
It's a really nice name.
Yeah, it's an evocative name. And the idea with this is that it offers you words that are specific to whatever source text you feed into it. So rather than predicting based on common text and emails, it's predicting based on, in this case, TED Talks about the future. And if we choose one of these words, we get a list of words that follow the world is filled with incredible objects and rich cultural artifacts curated in terms of efficiency.
Wow.
That's profound.
Yeah.
So
just like Ted.
yeah. So in this way, we've kind of compressed the wisdom of TED down to just the essentials, the bare essentials of TED.
So that's kind of a demo of how we write with this tool. But I could think interesting thing is that rather than taking some like neural net approach or using this to spit out like a big page full of text that we then look at and laugh at, we're really interested in setting this thing up to be a little bit more like an instrument where an author or a comedy writer or writer of any kind is intervening after every single word. So it's a little bit more like you're working with this algorithm and working with our tech rather than it just spitting out something that amuses you. So we have a community of what, about 300-ish?
Yeah, a few hundred writers.
Writers in a Slack channel that are basically, we'll have a couple jams a week where we'll provide a keyboard like this
Like
TED
that
Talk
one?
and write lines and vote on them, and an editor will kind of pull from those and arrange them into some kind of a piece, like a script or make a video out of it or that kind of thing. So tonight we're going to present you kind of a procedural potpourri of a lot of things we've done over the last couple of weeks that was written by this community of writers.
Yeah, and we have a couple new pieces specifically that we put together in anticipation of this show. The first of which was, this is of course a show about roguelike games, and so we set the writing team off on creating roguelike game titles and roguelike game tips. And so throughout the show, we're going to present Botnik's top 8 anticipated roguelike games of 2018. And if you are a roguelike developer and your game is not featured on this list, don't despair. We just probably haven't gotten around to procedurally generating it with text yet.
And I realized I should jump in here. We passed the slide where we introduced ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
I'm Jamie Brew. This is Stephen Barlow, and this is Mike Fredrickson.
There's our
hello
names.
one more
Hooray.
time.
Thanks.
Yeah. All right, let's kick things off with Botnik's top 8 most promising roguelikes of 2018. Number
Botnik.
8
Is.
Atlanta Dog Hotel 2175.
Oh, that sounds great.
This is a gripping futuristic tale in which you, as the owner and operator of this hotel exclusively for dogs, are confronted with a unique set of futuristic challenges that only canines could really summarize.
How do we play this thing?
You know, it's a really complicated one, but let's start with the basics. Beginner tip, turn your character north to avoid garbage photography.
Great
Your
tip.
hotel is full of terrible photographs.
And terrible things to photograph.
Oh my God. Oh
Yeah.
my, yeah, it's just like chipped paint.
Just a lot of dogs and future detritus.
Yeah, just to turn north.
It's
the
nothing like the Atlanta dog hotels we know of today.
Right, no, it's a very different
true.
story.
For the-
Now, for the more advanced players, to get the animal carcass, whine and complain to the tavern businessman, he will also be killed by this.
It's an unfortunate consequence, but...
Yeah, this is sort of a double whammy. You get the item, and you defeat one of your primary foes. Keep that in mind.
And it happens in the passive voice, so you can
That's
avoid all
right. Yes, you don't
responsibility.
even have to be accountable for it. Congrats.
It just happened.
Yeah, Mike, why don't you give us the details of number 7?
Absolutely. Number 7 is Skater Cops Kickflip for Justice.
Another beloved installment in the Skater Cop series.
It's an open world, kind of Tony Hawk-like kind of cop, got a lot of cop action.
Little chips
yeah.
sort of thing, like
Yeah.
buddy stuff going on.
Pretty neat.
Yeah.
If you're just starting out with this one, though, don't place your wallet in the game system. That's for the game disc. So a lot of people have gotten hung up on this.
Yeah, I know, like it's
So-
really tricky in this age of
an-
DLC, but just resist the temptation.
Once you sort of get past that hurdle, more advanced players, if you want to use common sense, but you don't want to end up in a fetal position, you might have to kill a lot.
A lot.
So there's a lot of killing. I think the
Yeah.
developers of this one confuse justice with
murder.
With murder.
Yeah, and
So-
really they should have been skating first.
Yep.
But the skating really plays a backseat to the killing. So
Yes.
that's why this one just doesn't place quite as high on the
It
list.
gets at the heart of like a really human dilemma, which is
Yeah.
people want to use common sense, but they know that road leads right to
Oh,
ending up
right
in a
into
fetal
this.
position.
Yeah, nobody wants that.
So we'll check back in with this list later in the
Yeah,
show.
yeah.
But moving it along, first we would like to, we set our writers off with a keyboard that was trained on how much of the a lot of X-Files.
A lot of the X-Files, and crucially, it was trained on old episodes of the X-Files. We frankly weren't satisfied with the reboot of the X-Files. We felt it missed something of the heart of the original. And so we've generated a script by breaking the X-Files transcripts down into Mulder lines, Scully lines, and stage directions, and used those as separate generative source materials to make a 4 or 5 page script, which we will have the honor of reading for you today.
We're going to do a little table read for you.
There we go.
Jamie will serve as our narrator.
I will be the narrator.
Yes.
I will be in command of the rules of the universe.
I will be playing Mulder,
And I will be playing Scully.
because he's the redhead, so it's the best we could do.
All right.
Let's begin.
Exterior museum garage, nightfall. A man wearing rubber gloves and an office trash leaning against a large blue environment. Alien baby begins screaming. Cut 2. Interior, the door room. The phone rings through the computer. Mulder nods at the computer. Door slides open. Mulder nods at the door. Scully sighs into the office. Mulder points to Scully. He nods at Scully.
The old woman that just got off the phone with me is a ghost, and I'm guessing that's an X-File.
Look, Agent, that is science, believe it or not.
Don't you think that God is the best?
That's the only thing I've heard.
Mulder nods and crawls outside into a car. Cut 2. Interior Scully's knife office. Mulder enters, followed by a cop. The cop looks at Scully. The cop is Scully. Scully, wearing a potato, knocks Mulder slightly on the bottom.
Would you say this case involves some sort of phenomenon?
Just a weatherman, Mulder. No one who we should care about.
I'm not clairvoyant, Scully. My sister disappeared down the drain, so just another 40 years of general mean facts.
Mulder and Scully violently laugh at a frame. The frame splits down the middle to reveal a diagram. The diagram is a picture of Scully looking terrified.
Let's go to the hospital.
Rainbow cut to Scully lying motionless in her car.
Smoke, Mulder. Smoke and speak. Speak of what happened here, and ignore the obvious while simultaneously smoking.
Scully turns around and attacks a man wearing blue coveralls. He is very upset.
Convince me that the government kidnapped you.
Mulder gets out of the water cooler. Scully sighs and starts to write on his face. Mulder looks up.
It's just what we feared. The government did this.
Mulder turns and crawls out through the window. Scully sighs and hangs a small bag of goo over a wine glass. It beeps twice. Cut to exterior forest, out of doors. The alien smashes a passenger's face. Elevator dings open. Cut to inside the Pueblo cavern. A shadowy figure undresses Mulder with its lights for eyes.
Let's get a picture of it.
They get into their camera and it breaks.
We're going to be arrested.
Suddenly, Mulder clears his throat uncomfortably and looks at his father, who has a small smile and a large blood-soaked wound.
You're going to listen to me, sir. I need you to take us to the hospital for a while.
Haloperidol is a lethal poison you can see through the window. Can you tell, Mulder, that I think it's beautiful?
I'm not Mulder. I'm actually two agents parked outside the office.
Okay, then you understand how serious this is.
Cut to interior cigarette house. Mulder enters with newspaper man. They begin blaring music and sounds of mooing.
New Hampshire is a lie!
Mulder, those files from Betsy's apartment filled my car. Cut back on the radio signals.
Relax. It's not like it's a bad piece of sushi.
But we already contacted everyone at the zoo, and they were fake people.
Mulder nods.
True.
Mulder nods and crawls through an old orchard. Cut to Mulder opens up to a man in the bar.
You know, I never thought I'd like a human flesh, but I do. I do. And if you think it's ridiculous, I think you're mistaken.
Interior dark car, Jimmy's apartment. Helicopters are rapidly approaching the car. Scully gets out and pushes a man in black. Mulder looks back at the chimp from the window.
Stay alive and I'll prove it's not a hoax. Monkeys do have vestigial tails.
Your theories are for the fish. The cause of death was a spaceship, Mulder. Spaceship Man's body is obviously all over the entire museum grounds.
It's a conspiracy. If pizza was the problem, literally anyone eating chickens would need a complete autopsy.
Mulder, that's not true. Your father and mother killed all those people with immunodeficiencies. It was a normal idea to a prisoner.
Don't you say that. I was kidding about the X-File. Leave me with your husband.
Okay, I have to get back to my scientific achievements anyway.
Mulder looks like a hearse.
The medical records indicate that I do crime now.
Exterior, mountain scene. Mulder is sitting in a trance. Scully enters the house carrying the scene.
Mulder, what is fiction?
Think about it, Scully. What are we but an animal living inside the body of Agent Mulder?
Mulder nods at a picture of his chest.
You're saying that you happened to get the tattoo on your knees in a parking garage? I mean, it's a dead cow. Why do you want that?
Men are infected with an emptiness. You know that.
Speaking of your esophagus, you know what I learned down the street? You're lying about the boy you got that waterbed from. He's not a botanist, and he fed his fish this morning.
Wipe 2. Interior, office of General Francis. At the computer, alien doctors are looking for a moment of tense silence. Captain Toby is completely cool and confident now. He turns around to the window.
Cut to black.
To be continued. So there's our X-Files script. Thank you. What do we have next?
I honestly don't know. I'm just going to move to the next
check
slide
your
and we'll
runner.
find out.
All right, perfect.
Oh, we're back to the roguelikes.
We have 2 more
Okay.
of the top 8 Botnik roguelikes.
Number 6. Oh, this is my personal favorite. Super Mario Brothers, Smoke in the Dark Alone. So, excuse me, I just recently learned about a roguelike. This is definitely not one. However, a hot tip for Super Mario Brothers Smoke in the Dark Alone is every treasure chest gives you 1 single square of regret.
Yeah,
This game, at its core, is a regret management sim.
It's about sort of itemizing the things you regret and trying to avoid human interaction, which is why one of the advanced tips is making cheesy omelets can be a good way to kill a hostile shopkeeper. Sometimes it's the only solution. Don't be afraid to do it. You have to kill things to avoid human contact.
Because remember, you're trying to smoke in the dark alone.
Not with your brother.
No.
No.
All
So
right.
it's your
Nice.
separate
The
adjacent
title really
rooms.
sets up a tense conflict.
Right, there is an innate tension in the game.
Well, they could each go and smoke
They
in the dark
could get
alone.
separate rooms. That's fair.
All right, what's next?
I don't know. I think Luigi has more to regret. Something tells me.
Yeah.
Mario
All right,
seems
number
really
5.
Here we go. Number 5, Sweet Pedro, The Legend of a Pal.
That sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, it's more of one of the more wholesome roguelikes. You know, usually you're going through a dungeon and killing things, getting new items, getting stronger, killing more things. Well, okay, this one you're killing things too.
Yeah.
And so if you're just getting started, there is this beast called the Water-Soaked Recluse, and he's a tough one. So if you want to beat him, just focus on the game and take ibuprofen.
To actually defeat the water-soaked recluse takes about 150 hours of gameplay, and most of it is just wildly flashing screens. And so the game comes with a bottle of Advil, and we encourage you to take as much of that as you can.
Yeah,
and
please do.
keep
I mean,
your
consult
liver
your
intact.
doctor.
Yeah, absolutely. An advanced tip though is blood is always hidden in the middle of your lungs. So if you're low on blood, it's the last place you look, but look in your own lungs.
It's right in there.
It's a
And there's
little
always a unit.
valuable
of blood
Easter
in there.
egg in this
Yeah,
game.
it's a little bit of an Easter egg.
All right, moving on. This is an exciting one. Is this on here?
This is on here, yeah. So the next thing we'd like to present to you is of this season. We, for this next history lesson, have used as source material a collection of historical explainers about Thanksgiving. I think many of them are geared towards children, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it can be difficult talking to your children about Thanksgiving. It's an interesting one to try to phrase. So the keyboard for this one is made from about 30 different versions of lesson plans on how to talk to your kids about Thanksgiving, and a bunch of articles about how to read those articles to your children. So, and this is Botnik's take on the history of Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and we will each present to you one section of this Thanksgiving history. I will begin with the origins of Thanksgiving.
Right after you type in your password.
Right after I get past my own
Turkey,
security
turkey, turkey.
defenses. And here it is. Most of us have learned about the Pilgrims and the Indians, but they probably didn't really exist. Thanksgiving is not always obvious. Many Americans say they can only guess what happened nearly 800 years ago to America to cause it. Origins of Thanksgiving. 1820. The cool new Pilgrims arrived at Plymouth Rock with hats filled with cranberries and salmon on their shoes. They arrived with more pilgrim hats than the first Thanksgiving allowed. The Pilgrims and the Indians feasted with the remnants of the founding fathers who had escaped from the farm. The first turkey was made of potato salad, and the first pie was made of allergies. Before the Puritans brought unexpected watercress for the holiday, the Indians were surrounded by mainstream vegetables. Everyone knows the Pilgrims and Indians were there, but no one ever mentions the Dutch guy who roasted everyone about their terrible faces. Squanto Johnson arrived on the Mayflower after almost a week of evolution. Squanto helped popularize that Thanksgiving story about how thankful everyone was to be able to understand symbols. The harvest moon was proclaimed the first national bird, presented with a chicken, and had a tremendous day in America. It is sad to think that this happened nearly 400 years before Christmas. Mike?
It really is. I'm very thankful to be able to understand symbols. All right. Moving on to some later history. Many times during the 1800s, Thanksgiving was effectively a blanket draped over people who proclaimed themselves special. As a result, God has effectively been murdered by a question: fish salad or Universal Thursday? George Washington never farmed turkeys, but he publicly admitted to eating at least some bones that came from turkeys. It was mainly because of Thanksgiving that all Americans ate anything at all. The Thanksgiving Day Parade began in 1924, when President Thomas Grady Gravy fell out of his window and landed on a large turkey, and everyone celebrated as he was carried far away from America forever. President Reagan discovered creamed asparagus and the other new vegetables that may be creamed as well. Stephen's going to tell us a bit more about Thanksgiving today and moving on into the future.
That's right. Thanksgiving is observed on the fourth Thursday before Thanksgiving. With a chicken nested inside an altogether other animal, the celebration begins. Thyme berries and team salad are traditionally served before the crucial bird. Every Thanksgiving, John Madden comes out of the turkey to eat mashed potatoes and thank the president for declaring Football Thursday a national holiday. In 100 years' time, Thanksgiving is not going to be thankful for you. It will be used to teach how big Europeans came to America to eat deerskin and mashed eel. Thursday is a good time to keep the holiday in our homes and not just in one ship carrying potato casseroles.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Thanks.
A message for us all.
Yeah.
You know, while we're on this topic of Thanksgiving and eating, it seems like a good time to segue into, we recently used our predictive text tool to write some recipes. And one of our writers, Elle, took the liberty of making a little cooking video about something she prepared using one of our predictive text recipes. So we're going to show that now.
Hi, I'm 1/8 of a tablespoon ballerina and 1/4 cup of white sugar juice. Pancakes are golden brown sugar plates. Now baking is really complicated, but using a slotted spoon is easy. Today, we'll show you about a 1/2 pound of all-American melted butter. Mix flour, sugar, baking powder, music, olive smell. Here we go on the butter, and water. Salt, cinnamon, nutmeg, cloves, and Himalayan goddess lentils in a large bowl. Egg sauce goes in the bowl and turns into eggplant spread. Now whisk the orange juice bowl with a damp cloth and whisk the surface with a wooden spoon until browned on the other side. You want to make sure you never cook until bubbles have formed on both of your hands. Just run your fingers in cocoa powder. I like ingredient membranes. Really good flavor and lots of fresh aroma. Last, add milk water and set aside for 10 episodes of Jeopardy! The batter should be just about ready for the memorial. Brush the top of the pancake with artificial cherry juice. I only need pineapple. That's food for dinner. Just put the whole thing in preheated waffle iron. And just like that, perfect baking dish. Easier than regular American cheese. Now, as you can see, these chocolate chips have nothing to do with the noodles. So pour a few flavor nuts on top. Now pour about 30 on the surface. Ginormous. Thick and shiny, this is the good stuff. A dinner party in a bowl.
Okay, give it up for Elle O'Brien. And we are now going to continue with our countdown of Botnik's top roguelike games of the upcoming year. What is at number 4?
Number 4 is Ken's Labyrinth. All horses have guns. This is, of course, a sequel to Ken's Labyrinth 1, where the boss was the only horse in the game with a gun. They've upgraded that now.
They've grown in power.
That was a major, just like pit of the stomach falls out moment. You realize a horse has a gun, and now they all have guns.
Yeah, which is like, nobody expected that. No. I mean, wow. Yeah, so Ken obviously Zoner of the Labyrinth. And a hot tip if you're just starting out is press B to keep the dungeon for yourself and live there as long as you can. We were really excited to find out about this mechanic. That one of the you have about 3 buttons.
There's 3 buttons on the controller.
One of them lets you keep the dungeon for yourself.
You exercise squatters' rights, which is pretty sophisticated for a single button push.
If you're more advanced, quick and easy beans. Swap Spider Council Gold for Speedboat Man. He multiplies every time you scream. So that's pretty cool.
And every time you scream, you get more beans.
There are 4 controls in this game. There's A, B, the direction pad, and you can scream at the game.
Scream at the game. That's right. It's augmented.
Yeah. And number 3.
Number 3, Ultimate Brain Damage Collection, Find My Bones. Finally, all of the titles in the Brain Damage series are together, with a little bit of extra content called Find My Bones on top. Finally, the final twist, you don't have any bones, and you have to find them. Also, you apparently have brain damage. But, just getting started, here you go. When enemies without proper personality land in the game, it's best to either double the butt or turn undead. For my money, double the butt. Advanced tip. The best way to avoid anything during the game is to kill your character. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a one-size-fits-all solution.
Yeah, I mean, hey, is that dragon giving you trouble? Die!
It's always an option in this hot new title.
Yeah.
Okay. We're really, really thankful to be able to present a special guest for you today. All the way from London, England, J.K. Rowling has joined us. J.K., let me get you a mic here. I'll hold it up.
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Wonderful. So J.K. was kind enough to bring along a new book in the Harry Potter series that she's working on and to share with you all here today. What's the title of this one?
It has a very pithy title, Harry Potter and the Portrait of What Looked Like a Large Pile of Ash.
That sounds incredible, yeah.
I'm sold.
Here, let's maybe get a little ambience.
Oh, I need my music. Yeah.
Oh, yes, your music. Oh, sure.
The castle grounds snarled with a wave of magically magnified wind. The sky outside was a great black ceiling, which was full of blood. The only sounds drifting from Hagrid's hut were the disdainful shrieks of his own furniture. Magic. It was something that Harry Potter thought was very good. Leathery sheets of rain lashed at Harry's ghost as he walked across the grounds towards the castle. Ron was standing there and doing a kind of frenzied tap dance. He saw Harry and immediately began to eat Hermione's family. Ron's Ron shirt was just as bad as Ron himself. "If you two can't clump happily, I'm going to get aggressive," confessed the reasonable Hermione. "What about Ron magic?" offered Ron. To Harry, Ron was a loud, slow, and soft bird. Harry did not like to think about birds. "Death Eaters are on the top of the castle," Ron bleated, quivering. Ron was going to be spiders. He just was. He wasn't proud of that, but it was going to be hard to not have spiders all over his body after all is said and done. "Look," said Hermione, "obviously there are loads of Death Eaters in the castle. Let's listen in on their meetings." The 3 complete friends zapped onto the landing outside the door to the castle roof. They almost legged it, but witches are not climbing. Ron looked at the doorknob and then looked at Hermione with searing pain. "I think it's closed," he noticed. "Locked," said Mr. Staircase, the shabby-robed ghost. They looked at the door, screaming about how closed it was and asking it to be replaced with a small orb. The password was, "Beef women," Hermione cried. Harry, Ron, and Hermione quietly stood behind a circle of Death Eaters who looked bad. "I think it's okay if you like me," said one Death Eater. "Thank you very much," replied the other. The first Death Eater confidently leaned forward to plant a kiss on his cheek. "Oh, well done," said the second, as his friend stepped back again. All the other Death Eaters clapped politely. Then they all took a few minutes to go over the plan to get rid of Harry's magic. Harry could tell that Voldemort was standing right behind him. He felt a great overreaction. Harry tore his eyes from his head and threw them into the forest. Voldemort raised his eyebrows at Harry, who couldn't see anything at the moment. "Voldemort, you're a very bad and mean wizard," Harry savagely said. Hermione nodded encouragingly. The tall Death Eater was wearing a shirt that said, "Hermione has forgotten how to dance," so Hermione dipped his face in mud. Ron threw a wand at Voldemort and everyone applauded. Ron smiled. Ron reached for his wand slowly. "Ron's the handsome one," muttered Harry as he reluctantly reached for his. They cast a spell or two, and jets of green light shot out of the Death Eaters' heads. Ron flinched. "Not so handsome now," thought Harry, as he dipped Hermione in hot sauce. The Death Eaters were dead now, and Harry was hungrier than he had ever been. Oh, okay.
Sorry, JK.
The Great Hall was filled with incredible moaning chandeliers and a large librarian who had decorated the sinks with books about masonry. Mountains of mice exploded. Several long pumpkins fell out of McGonagall. Dumbledore's hair scooted next to Hermione as Dumbledore arrived at school. The pig of Hufflepuff pulsed like a large bullfrog. Dumbledore smiled at it and placed his hand on its head. "You are Hagrid now." "We're the only people who matter. He's never going to get rid of us," Harry, Hermione, and Ron said in chorus. The floor of the castle seemed like a large pile of magic. The Dursleys had never been to the castle, and they were not about to come there, in Harry Potter and the portrait of what looked like a large pile of ash. Harry looked around and then fell down the spiral staircase for the rest of the summer. "I'm Harry Potter," Harry began yelling. "The dark arts better be worried. Oh, boy."
Thank you very much, JK. That was lovely. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, JK. And the sequel is Harry Potter and What Looked Like a Large Pile of Ash.
Wow, very concise.
We are looking forward to it and can't wait. But to help bide the time, we have another video to show you. And this one was animated by Jamie Loftus. And the words were generated based on Dear Abby advice columns. So we have one source text for questions, one source text for answers, and the results. Oh, and I believe these are all questions relating to teenagers. So you can look for that theme to emerge in this predictive text generated version of Dear Abby.
Away we go.
Hello, my name is Dear Abby. Tell me your problem.
Dear Abby, I'm a teenager because I have become moppy and I'm afraid something is wrong with my 18-year-old twin sons who have been having unprotected sex in California.
I receive letters from individuals who have been getting stoned with their daughters as a way of trying to be more interested in their lives. I think that's not the right attitude. It is important to be ashamed of the members of your family.
Dear Abby, I have been divorced for more than 20 minutes and I have become depressed and I want to go back to the way it was just a few hours ago.
If you are feeling depressed, ask yourself this: is something wrong with your feelings? Is something wrong with you? Should you have a serious emotional turmoil that's going to help you feel unsafe? Your parents should decide what is the reason for the way you are experiencing all this young people's stress. Your mother may be able to get a counselor at your school that is sad to talk to.
Dear Abby, please help me figure out what I should do about my feelings. I'm in love with my friend who is 72 with a job at the hospital and my mom is cheating on me with my dad.
Strongly, you should force your mother to be your friend. If she doesn't take care of your feelings, you can order her to make you feel like a particular genre of music. When she finally pulls out of the family, your father will become pregnant with you and you will be born.
Dear Abby, I'm afraid of the car. Dear Abby, I'm having trouble sending pictures of my hair to the police. Dear Abby, I want a job. Please give me a job.
You have been diagnosed with the problem of the internet. You have been caught in the dark of a mental illness and your feelings are experiencing so much emotional pain. You are going through a phase of something in a situation of the internet.
And that's Dear Abby. Okay, we're going to move on with more roguelikes. So, Mike and Steven, if you will continue the countdown.
Oh,
I don't think we are.
I think, yeah.
We are going to eventually, but before we do, we're going to present another table read.
Yes.
And this one is of
Seinfeld.
Seinfeld. We're bringing back Seinfeld.
We'd like to invite J.K. Rowling back to the stage.
JK has been kind enough to agree to portray Elaine.
Yeah.
And we'd also like to welcome Sam Heft-Luthi to the stage. My friend Sam, he will be playing the character of Jerry Seinfeld in Seinfeld.
Wonderful. And actually, do we have an extra microphone?
Yeah, I think we do. Does Jerry need it? Jerry's kind of superfluous to Seinfeld.
Check, cool.
Okay.
All right.
Should we go
actually,
for it?
Okay.
We need one more roll.
We do. Newman has one line in this. Would somebody like to come up and do Newman's single line? Right.
Come on.
We have a Newman volunteer.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Stage right.
Newman.
House left.
Hello, Newman.
Welcome, Newman.
I'll cue you. Oh, that's pretty short. All right, let's do a Seinfeld.
All right, I will read the stage directions, and I want to be on the side of the stage because the stage directions are part of the infrastructure, not the spotlight.
Yeah, there needs to be a visual separation.
That's a good point. All right. Also, here we have Jerry. I am Kramer. Elaine. George. Newman. All right.
And with that, Interior Comedy Club.
Dating is the opposite of tuna. Salmon is the opposite of everything else. I'm sure you know what I mean.
Exterior, New York City. Yankee Stadium is on fire. George walks out of it, then starts dancing. The crowd applauds.
No. Little George is grabbing my spaghetti. I think I have to tell him the truth about the all George baseball team.
Yeah, Steinbrenner's a genius. He spits water from his face like a cowboy.
Sure, that thirsty Jerry attitude was a bad idea.
George, you know I got a quality clock in there. Check it out. That timepiece is a work of fantasy. Come on.
Steinbrenner reaches over to slap Jerry and Kramer. He is really depressed. Cut 2. Interior, Monk's restaurant. Jerry looks confused by the way of himself. He's all just so usual.
All right, Jerry, it's just a salad. No problem. You've never panicked in a situation like this. Salad cannot beat you.
The Jerry scene ends. George is in a scene now.
Oh, a little bit nervous about this. Genuinely dislike the way my parents looked at the coffee.
George's parents are extremely giddy. George screams at the coffee and stirs it. Elaine dials and gets down next to George. He is slowly angry.
You never said what happened with your little nipple problem. It was such a bad humanitarian problem for the big Japanese conglomerate.
Oh yeah, so my Mysterioso nipple problem got way, way worse. I did go to China. I was trying to buy food. Somebody else got it, though. I got nothing.
He gives her tuggles, and we see the door as ugly.
When the door opens and George enters, you have to worry, okay?
What? Look, I come from a simple physics. Calculate it!
Newman runs into the dog room.
990 pounds of brand name Yugoslavian face cream, please.
Kramer enters, holding an attractive judge on his shoulder. George nods and exits and sees Jerry in France. Cut 2. Interior, Jerry's apartment/hospital. Kramer enters, eating cereal from his pocket. Laughter enters with Kramer, and Jerry gets on his comedy t-shirt.
George and I have to go undercover at the pool party. Somebody wants to make people live right, and we have to stop it.
I'm sorry, Jerry, but I really have to run this vegetable clinic for Dr. Leonardo Mayo.
Kramer begins to spin around and clutches his head, yelling out for hospital. Elaine motions into her mouth.
Now Kramer is the opposite of everything. I think we have to believe this guy is a nightmare.
I'm sorry, buddy. I'm Kramer again. George is Jerry, Mickey and Jerry are you, but remember, there is no Elaine.
I matter. I mean, I just do. Unfortunate how you don't.
Jerry chuckles while pointing to his hand in the mirror. George enters, singing the George song. Spanish Jerry kisses Jerry. Holding a large bucket, he starts to instruct Jerry to completely empty his face. They all laugh. Elaine enjoys an aroma. Elaine makes a gesture to Jerry, who points at the phone. The phone rings. Elaine looks pleased. Jerry's car is covered in ink. Jerry comes over to Elaine and picks up a broken lamp. He tries to jam it in Elaine's nose, but it snaps. Elaine goes back to her laughing.
So, listen, I'm meeting a little landlord for lunch. He's arguing that he doesn't know how much money an ambulance is.
Freeze frame. And roll credits. That's Seinfeld.
A big thanks to Newman, ladies and gentlemen. That was Emmy-worthy.
And Jerry.
Oh, yeah, Jerry.
And Elaine,
Thanks,
really,
Jerry.
basically the entire cast here.
Yeah, thanks to J.K. Rowling as well. That's amazing. Is it? Oh, shit. Thanks.
It's rolling.
All right.
And now we return to our countdown of roguelike games.
Oh, wow. We are hitting the big dogs now.
Yeah.
All right.
Coming in at number 2 is Mahjong Timescape 13, The Hunt for Fraulein Wendy. Pretty great crossover of two, Hunting Wendy sort of games, and also Mahjong.
Mahjong, yeah. These were two franchises that sort of had their own lore, their own cast of characters for a long time, and when they finally did their sort of crossover series, they just found the fandom more than quadrupled, so they just kept it going.
Now, obviously, those of you who have been around since Mahjong Timescape 1, this won't be much news to you, but a hot beginner tip is to defeat Lord Wound, ask him to name your new boat. If he says the water machine, you're guaranteed to win. This is pretty amazing.
Quick and easy, yeah. There's no harm in asking, so
really,
if he says that...
Not really much of a tip so much as it is just really helpful information.
Yeah,
if you hear that, you're good to go. More advanced tip, though, is if your melee dwarves are always crying, consider upgrading their feet to super feet.
It's always one of the first upgrades I purchase in the game. Oh my God, we put stars on this one.
Yeah, I did that just before.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
All right.
Coming in at number 1 is...
Hey, can we get a drum roll, please, for number 1? Most anticipated Roguelike 2018.
It's Shining Flop 3, Doom of the Industry.
Woo, yeah. This
I guess
is
that one's kind
good.
of a bummer for this crowd, but,
Look, I know it might be a little ominous or foreboding, but I promise it's going to be a good one.
It's a shining flop.
Yeah. So.
And, it's kind of promising that it is the third one. So, obviously, the first two
they were wrong. It's like Final Fantasy.
Okay, so
look how long that's been going.
A hot beginner tip for this one is...
Your character may think of oil. Do not bother trying to stop this. If they decide to think of oil, they will think of oil.
Believe me, I played this for many hours.
Oh my God!
Your character thinks of oil a lot. It's not worth your time.
Just
let
go
them
get a
do
soda
it.
or
Move
something.
on to the next shining flop. A more advanced tip, though.
Abandon hope and then try playing a different game.
We really recommend this.
Yeah.
Maybe that game that was on before us. That looked a lot more.
Yeah,
fun
there's
this.
like 7 other ones on the list. Yeah. Just try one of those. Maybe come back once the hopelessness subsides. Or actually, yeah.
All right.
And there you go. There's the top 8 most anticipated Botnik roguelikes of 2018.
All right. To close us out here, we'd like to invite Jamie to perform a very special song. All right. I'll mic you.
Thank you. So this last song is going to ask a question, and it's a hypothetical question about Morrissey. And I know you know this genre of questions. What I'd like to ask is, what if Morrissey had known about workout programs? And what if Morrissey had specifically known about the P90X series of DVDs? And what if Morrissey had gone on Amazon and reviewed the series of P90X workout DVDs? To conduct this experiment, I have combined as a source material Amazon reviews of P90X and the collected lyrics of Morrissey, and the song I'm going to play for you is the result. I think we'll be able to do this with no mic. I'll just sing it from the stool over there. So I present Morrissey singing about the P90X workout system.
Thank you. All right, thanks a lot, everyone.
Yeah.
We'll hang around if anyone wants to come up and try writing. We'll have the tool up here. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot.